I want to ask you something before we get into today's topic, and I want you to think about it honestly as you listen. What did you drink last night before bed? If your answer is tea, I'm genuinely glad you found this video today, because what I'm about to share with you is something I wish more of my patients knew before they spent years doing something they believed was helping them, while it was quietly working against them in ways they never would have suspected. I'm Dr. Fernanda Oliveira, board certified urologist, and this channel is dedicated to one thing: giving men over 50 honest, practical, science based guidance to help them feel strong, energetic, and confident again. No expensive treatments, no complicated protocols, just real information that you can actually use. So let's talk about tea. Now, I want to be careful here because I am not standing here telling you that tea is poison. That's not what this is. Many teas have genuine health benefits, and I recommend certain herbal teas to my patients in specific contexts. But here is what I see constantly in my practice, and this is what motivated me to make this video. Men over 50 who are doing everything they believe is right. They're watching their diet, they're cutting back on alcohol, they're trying to sleep better, and every single evening they make themselves a nice warm cup of tea because it feels relaxing, it feels healthy, it feels like a responsible choice at the end of the day. And yet they still wake up tired. They still notice their energy declining. Their intimate performance is not what it used to be. And they come to me genuinely confused because they feel like they're doing the right things. My dear friend, if any part of that sounds like you, please hear me when I say this. There is no reason whatsoever to feel embarrassed or discouraged. Millions of men just like you are navigating these exact changes after 50, and the vast majority of them have no idea that some of their most well-intentioned habits may be part of the problem. That's not a failure on your part. That's simply a gap in the information that's available to most people, and that gap is exactly what I'm here to help close. So let me start at the beginning with what's actually changing in your body after 50 and why it matters so much more than most men realize. The changes you're feeling, the lower energy, the reduced stamina, the shifts in sexual performance, they tend to arrive gradually, which is part of what makes them so easy to dismiss at first. One year you feel mostly fine. A few years later, things just feel slightly off. And then a few years after that, you realize the gap between how you feel now and how you used to feel has become genuinely significant. Most men attribute all of it to age. And while age is certainly a factor, it's a frustratingly vague explanation. It doesn't tell you what to do, it doesn't give you anything to work with. What I find far more useful, and what I tell my patients, is to look at the specific biological mechanisms behind these changes. Because when you understand the mechanism, you can address it directly. And the mechanism I want to focus on today sits at the center of almost every complaint I hear from men in this age group. Blood flow. I know that might sound almost too simple, but bear with me, because the more you understand about circulation and how it changes after 50, the more everything else we're going to talk about today will fall into place. Healthy circulation is not just about your heart or your cardiovascular risk profile. It is the literal delivery system for everything your body needs to function well. Oxygen, hormones, nutrients, all of it travels through your blood to every tissue in your body. And for men specifically, circulation is directly and intimately connected to sexual function. An erection, at its most fundamental biological level, is a vascular event. It depends entirely on blood flowing efficiently into specific tissue and staying there. When that circulatory process is working well, things work well. When it's compromised, even slightly, even gradually, you feel it. Now, the key player in this process is a molecule called nitric oxide. Think of nitric oxide as a signal, a chemical message that your blood vessel walls send to the surrounding smooth muscle tissue, telling it to relax and allow the vessel to expand. When nitric oxide production is robust, blood vessels dilate easily, blood flows freely, and circulation throughout the body, including to the tissues that matter most for intimate function, is strong and responsive. But as men age, nitric oxide production naturally declines. The signal gets quieter, the vessels become less responsive, and circulation gradually and silently becomes less efficient. Picture a network of pipes carrying water through a building. When the pipes are new and clean and the pressure is good, water moves easily to every floor, every room, every faucet. But when those pipes begin to narrow slightly, a little buildup here, a little stiffness in the walls there, the pressure drops, the flow weakens, and the rooms furthest from the source are the first ones to notice it. That is essentially what happens to circulation as men age. And the intimate tissues, being among the most sensitive to changes in blood flow, are often the first place where men feel the difference. This is why I always tell my patients, if you want to support your energy, your stamina, and your intimate performance after 50, the most powerful thing you can focus on is the health of your blood vessels, not a pill, not a procedure. The fundamental health of the circulatory system itself. And this is where your evening routine becomes far more important than most men ever consider. What you do in the 2 to 3 hours before you sleep has a direct impact on what your body is able to accomplish during the night. And here is what I mean by that. While you sleep, during those deep, slow wave sleep cycles that your body depends on for recovery, remarkable things are happening beneath the surface. Testosterone is being produced and regulated. Growth hormone is being released to support tissue repair. Blood vessels are undergoing their own maintenance cycle, repairing microscopic damage and restoring flexibility. Your entire hormonal and vascular system uses the night as its primary window for restoration. But that restoration only happens properly when the conditions are right. And one of those conditions, one that is disrupted more often than people realize, involves the minerals your body needs to carry out this overnight work. Magnesium is the one I want to focus on right now, because in over 15 years of clinical practice, I have seen magnesium deficiency show up again and again in men over 50 who are dealing with fatigue, poor sleep, and declining vascular function. Studies in major nutrition journals consistently show that magnesium deficiency is remarkably prevalent in this age group, and the majority of those men have no idea. Magnesium is involved in hundreds of biochemical reactions throughout the body. It helps smooth muscle tissue relax, including the smooth muscle inside the walls of your blood vessels. It supports the regulation of sleep cycles, and it plays a meaningful role in testosterone metabolism. Here is where the tea becomes relevant, because certain teas, particularly those containing caffeine, which includes green tea, black tea, and many popular blends, also contain compounds called tannins. And tannins, when consumed in the evening, can interfere with the body's ability to absorb key minerals, including magnesium. So while you're sitting there feeling like you're doing something healthy and calming for your body, the tannins in that tea may be quietly reducing your magnesium absorption at precisely the time of night when your body needs it most. One of my patients, a man in his early 60s, couldn't understand why his sleep had been shallow and unrestorative for months, despite what appeared to be reasonable habits. He exercised moderately. He ate well. He had his nightly cup of green tea before bed without fail, because he'd read about its antioxidant benefits. When we looked more carefully at his evening routine and made one targeted adjustment, replacing the tea with a warm drink that actually supported mineral absorption and vascular relaxation rather than interfering with it, his sleep began to improve within weeks. He came back to me looking genuinely different, more rested, more present. He said his energy in the mornings had returned to something he hadn't felt in years. And this is the possibility I want you to hold on to right now. Not a dramatic overnight transformation. I'm a scientist, not a storyteller selling miracles, but a genuine, meaningful, progressive improvement in how you feel, driven by one simple change to something you're already doing every single evening anyway. The solution I'm going to share with you involves swapping that evening cup of tea for something far more targeted, a warm drink built around ingredients that work with your body's overnight repair process instead of against it. Ingredients that support circulation, support mineral absorption, and help prepare your vascular system for the deep restoration that happens while you sleep. But before I give you the exact recipe, and before you try anything tonight, there are two mistakes that I see men make almost universally when they first hear about this kind of approach. Mistakes that seem completely innocent, but that quietly prevent the whole thing from working the way it should. That's exactly where we're going in just a moment. Stay with me. Let's get into the part that actually changes things, because knowledge without action is just interesting conversation. And I don't make these videos for interesting conversation. I make them because I want you to feel genuinely better. So let's take everything we've built up together so far and turn it into something you can start using tonight. But first, those two mistakes. And I'm starting here on purpose because I have watched too many well intentioned men make these errors and then conclude that natural approaches simply don't work for them. They do work, but they require the right foundation. And these two habits quietly destroy that foundation before it ever has a chance to form. The first mistake is one that surprises people because it involves something almost universally considered harmless: caffeinated tea in the evening. I already touched on the tannin issue, but I want to go deeper here because the caffeine itself is its own separate problem, and it's a bigger one than most men appreciate. Caffeine has a half-life of approximately 5 to 6 hours in the average adult body. What that means in practical terms is that if you drink a cup of green or black tea at 8 in the evening, half of that caffeine is still actively circulating in your system at 1 or 2 in the morning. It is quietly elevating your alertness. It is suppressing the depth of your sleep cycles. And here is the part that most men never connect: it is increasing cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, and while it serves an essential function during the day, elevated cortisol at night is one of the most potent suppressors of testosterone production that exists. The two hormones operate in near direct opposition. When cortisol rises, testosterone falls. And when that pattern repeats night after night, week after week, you begin to feel it in your energy, your mood, and your intimate performance. So the recommendation here is simple and non-negotiable if you want results. Stop all caffeine consumption at least 4 to 6 hours before you go to bed. If you go to sleep at 10, your last caffeinated drink should be no later than 4 or 5 in the afternoon. That single shift for many of my patients produces a noticeable improvement in sleep depth within the first week. Not because I've given them anything new, but simply because I've removed something that was actively interfering. The second mistake is quieter and more systemic, and it affects far more men than anyone talks about. It's ignoring mineral deficiencies. We already discussed magnesium specifically, but I want to paint a broader picture here because this is important. The modern diet, even a reasonably healthy one, is often surprisingly low in the key minerals that the male body over 50 needs to maintain vascular health, hormonal balance, and quality sleep. Soil depletion over decades of industrial farming has reduced the mineral content of many foods that previous generations relied on. And as men age, the gut becomes slightly less efficient at absorbing certain nutrients, even when they are present in the diet. Magnesium glycinate specifically is what I recommend to my patients in this context. The glycinate form, bound to the amino acid glycine, is absorbed efficiently and is well tolerated by most people's digestive systems. The glycine itself has mild calming properties that complement the magnesium's effect on the nervous system beautifully. 200 to 300 milligrams in the evening, taken alongside the drink I'm about to describe, supports vascular relaxation, encourages deeper sleep, and provides your body's overnight repair systems with one of the key tools they need to do their job properly. Now, the drink itself. I call it simple on purpose because simplicity is the point. You do not need an elaborate supplement stack or an expensive protocol. You need the right ingredients combined intentionally, taken at the right time. Here is what you need: 1 cup of warm water, comfortably warm, not boiling, 1 teaspoon of raw honey, half a teaspoon of ground ginger, half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. And I want to emphasize Ceylon specifically because it is meaningfully different from the cassia cinnamon found on most supermarket shelves. If you enjoy citrus, a small squeeze of fresh lemon is a welcome addition. Stir everything together, take your magnesium glycinate alongside it, and drink it slowly 30 to 60 minutes before bed, 4 to 5 nights per week. Let me walk you through why each of these ingredients belongs here because I want you to understand what you're giving your body, not just follow a recipe blindly. Raw honey provides a small, slow releasing source of natural sugars that support your liver's glycogen stores overnight. Your liver uses glycogen to maintain stable blood sugar while you sleep. When those stores are inadequate, the body compensates by releasing cortisol, which, as we've already established, is the last thing you want elevated at night. A teaspoon of raw honey before bed helps keep that process stable and quiet, allowing your body to move through its sleep cycles without unnecessary hormonal disruption. Ginger is one of the most well studied natural circulation supporters available. The active compounds in ginger, gingerols and shogols, help support vascular function and reduce the kind of low grade vascular inflammation that quietly accumulates with age. Many of my patients who begin including ginger in their evening routine describe a gentle warmth that moves through their body after drinking it, a sensation of improved peripheral circulation that is entirely real and reflects exactly what the research suggests is happening at a vascular level. Ceylon cinnamon works on a different but complementary pathway. Its primary contribution here is to insulin sensitivity, the efficiency with which your cells respond to insulin and manage blood sugar. Stable overnight blood sugar means stable overnight cortisol. Stable overnight cortisol means uninterrupted testosterone production during sleep. And uninterrupted testosterone production during sleep means you wake up with more of it. Think of cinnamon as the ingredient that keeps the metabolic environment of your night clean and steady so that all the other repair processes can proceed without interruption. And warm water itself, often overlooked entirely, has a mild vasodilatory effect. It encourages the body to begin relaxing. It signals, in a very gentle and physical way, that the day is ending and rest is approaching. Combined with everything else in this drink, it completes a genuinely synergistic combination that prepares multiple systems simultaneously for the best possible overnight recovery. Now, I need to address something directly because I've been doing this long enough to know what happens next. A man watches a video like this. He feels genuinely hopeful. He makes the drink that night. And then 3 or 4 days later, when he hasn't noticed a dramatic transformation, he stops. And I understand the impulse completely. We live in a world of immediate results, and waiting feels like failing. But I need you to hear this clearly. The changes you're experiencing did not develop in a week. The vascular stiffness, the mineral depletion, the disrupted sleep patterns, these accumulated slowly over years. Reversing them requires consistency over time, not intensity over a few days. The men in my practice who see the most meaningful improvements are the ones who commit to a simple routine for 4 weeks without expecting overnight miracles. They track their sleep. They notice their morning energy. They pay attention to the small signals their body sends as things begin to shift, and things do begin to shift. Typically, sleep quality is the first thing men notice, a deeper, more restful quality to the night. Then morning energy begins to improve. And then gradually, over the following weeks, they begin to notice other things returning. Stronger mornings, better stamina through the day, a quiet return of confidence that they hadn't fully realized they'd lost until it started coming back. One of my patients, a man in his late 50s who had been dealing with fatigue and poor sleep for the better part of 2 years, came back to see me after 5 weeks of following this routine consistently. He sat down, and before I could even ask how he was doing, he said simply, "I feel like myself again." He wasn't talking about any single symptom. He was talking about something more fundamental than that, a sense of being present and alive in his own body that he had quietly stopped expecting. That is what I want for you. Not a number on a lab report, not a clinical outcome. You feeling like yourself again. So here is what your evening looks like when you put this all together properly. Finish dinner at least 2 to 3 hours before bed. Your digestive system should be mostly settled by the time you lie down. After dinner, take a short walk if you're able. Even 10 minutes helps stabilize blood sugar and gently wind down the nervous system. About 45 minutes before sleep, prepare your drink. Stir the honey, ginger, and cinnamon into your warm water. Take your magnesium glycinate alongside it. Drink it slowly without your phone in your hand, without the television on. Just sit with it. Let the warmth of it move through you deliberately. Then dim your environment. Step away from your screens and give your body the consistent sleep window it needs, 7 to 8 hours at the same time each night. That routine, from dinner to lights out, is your body's invitation to repair itself properly. And the drink sits at the center of it, not as a magic solution, but as a targeted, intentional act of giving your body what it has been quietly asking for. Please remember, and I always say this because I mean it, this is educational information offered with genuine care. It is not a substitute for medical advice, and it does not replace a proper clinical evaluation. If you are experiencing severe symptoms, significant fatigue that doesn't improve, or any concerning changes in your health, please see a qualified urologist. Your well being is worth a proper conversation with a doctor who can examine you individually. But if you're a man over 50 who has been feeling quietly unlike himself, a little more tired than you should be, a little less vital than you remember being, and you're looking for a simple, affordable, evidence-informed place to start, then tonight is a perfectly good night to begin. If you're going to try this tonight, go to the comments right now and type the words, "trying this tonight." Just that. It takes 3 seconds, and that small act of saying it out loud, even in a comment, is often the difference between the men who actually follow through and the men who mean to, but don't. And if this conversation gave you something useful today, a new way of understanding what's happening in your body, a practical tool you didn't have before, please subscribe to this channel. Every single week, I bring you honest, clinically grounded strategies to help men over 50 stay strong, stay healthy, and stay fully present in their own lives. Your body is not done with you, my friend, not even close. It is waiting for the right support, and now you know exactly how to give it that. I'll see you in the next one. Take good care of yourself.